Hello there. Did you know what is the separation of powers? Or why is the separation of powers so important in the government system? In this video we look at the concept of the separation of powers, the responsibility of three powers in the government, and why it is so important for government system. The separation of powers refers to the division of a state's government into branches, each with separate, independent powers and responsibilities, so that the powers of one branch are not in conflict with those of the other branches. This system divides the state into three branches: the legislative, executive, and judicial branch, and gives each the power to fulfill different tasks. Tasks are assigned to the different branches and their institutions in such a way that each of them can check the exercise of power by the others. As a consequence, no single branch can become so powerful that it can totally dominate the system. And next, what are the responsibility of these three powers in the government? First of all, the legislative. The legislative branch is responsible for enacting laws of the state, appropriating the money necessary to operate the government. It approves presidential appointments, and they controls taxing. The second one is the executive. The executive branch is responsible for enforcing the laws of the land, having election every 4 years, serving as commander-in-chief of the armed forces, and sign bills into law. Third one is the judicial. The judicial branch is responsible for interpreting the law in regards to the Constitution. Final courts of appeals for state and federal cases. Give out justice to people according to the Constitution. Supervise judges and lawyers. Why is the separation of powers so important in the government system? First point is for decentralization of power. The decentralization of the powers of government, which is clearly seen in the political system. These include effective monitoring of the system by each of the division organs of government. It also avoids misuse of power by one person or organs. The division of government powers brings about check and balances in government activities. This means that the organs of government will be checking on the activities of each other, and by doing this, accountability is ensured too. Next is the prevention of arbitrary use of powers. It prevents arbitrary use of powers. Where absolute power is conferred on one body, it is bound to be misused. Separation of powers ensure that government powers are not concentrated in the hands of a single central authority. Besides, for protection of the judicial independence, the protecting and preserving of the judiciary by making sure that neither the legislative nor executive takes away the powers, and the exercise of legislative's powers in particular is subject to control by judiciary. It is important that the judiciary is protected by the law, because the judiciary is known as the last hope of the common man. Then for protection of liberty, especially the minority in the country, is when powers to govern are not concentrated in the hands of one person, otherwise the powers will be corrupted absolutely. Also, the idea of separation of powers into different organs solves the problem of concentration of government powers and protects the liberty of citizens. Next is enhancement of effective government, which is enhances and create viable and effective government by administrators. Since the functions and responsibilities of the government has been divided, each of the organs are faced with lesser and more specific responsibilities to attend to. And where there is an unnecessary interference in the activities of any of the organs of government, the law will come in to put a stop that importance of separation of powers, that the matter was dismissed at the High Court. Besides, to create a harmonious working relationship, when each unit and subunits of all the organs of the governments are aware of their role and duties, there is bound to be respect for each unit's duties and roles. and this will create a good working condition among workers, administrators, civil servants, and so on. The national polity could only attain order and peace through furtherance of the ideals of social justice, an integrated part of which in the non-interference in the structure of the resolution of disputes. To those who make laws for societies must be distinct from those laws, and each of the two maker and executors of law must be different from those who interpret the laws or adjudicate on them. Next, having individual powers. Each branch of government with individual powers to check the other branches to prevent any one branch from becoming too powerful. Congress has the power to create the laws, the President has the power to veto them, and the Supreme Court may declare laws unconstitutional. With the presentation, do you know what are the negative impact if there are no power separation in government? These are the negative impact if there are no power separation in government. The first one is clumsiness in performing tasks. Disruption in the performance of a usual duties occurs if there is no proper division of power. This causes a lot of work and tasks that need to be completed properly to fail to be executed. The solution to this problem is with a division of tasks or powers over to anyone who is skilled and able. Next is lack of manpower. Without the division of power in the government, it is certain that many tasks will be delayed or slow to be completed. This is due to the lack of skilled manpower. When compared to the task and the number of people who are able to perform the task, it turns out that it really needs change to overcome this problem. Therefore, the government needs to divide the powers so that all matters can be carried out properly. In addition, not systematic also the negative impact if there are no power separation in government. All work methods and work arrangements must be done systematically so that no negligence is done. However, it requires a major step in preventing things that are not allowed to happen by way of division of power. This way it can show that a government is working in a systematic and professional environment. And lastly, lack of job opportunities in the administration sector. In administration, it requires a large amount of manpower. This will not happen if the division of power is done fairly and correctly. The consequences that will occur if this division is not done, it will cause a lot of chaos in performing the task. In fact, it does not provide space or What is the benefits of separation of power in the government? First, able to ensure that every management is done in an orderly manner. The division of power in the government is very important because it can have a positive impact on management. Each given power has its own role in carrying out each task and issue in a government. The division of power can give an orderly and simple way of working. Second, job opportunities. In a department, there are various positions and ranks that need to be filled with appropriate qualifications and skills. As a result, it will provide many job opportunities to the people and increase one's economy. In fact, it will make everything easier if working in a large group. Third, increased skilled workforce. This is because the existence of various positions and ranks will increase the number of skilled manpower among the people. This can help a jurisdiction grow faster and more advanced. Various experiences and knowledge can be applied while doing the job. Last but not least, provide excellent service. With the power given in the form of division, it can give a positive impact in terms of the services provided. As a government body that has power over every problem and issue, it definitely needs a good service or way of working. The solution to provide this service is very effective in addressing any government-related problems. Alright. These are some of the example of division of power in the Malaysian government. The first one is the Ministry of Home Affairs. This division of power contains the institutions such as the Immigration Department of Malaysia, the National Anti-Drug Agency, the Malaysian Prisons Department, and the Royal Malaysian Police. Second, we have the Ministry of Works Malaysia. In this division, there are institutions such as the Malaysian Highway Authority, the Public Works Department of Malaysia, and the Board of Engineers Malaysia. The third one, we have the Ministry of Human Resources. In this segment, the division contains the institutions such as Sabah Department of Labor, the Skills Development Department,
Social Security Organization, also known as SOSCO or PERTSO. The last one, we have the Ministry of Transport Malaysia. In this point, the division contains several of institutions such as the Department of Road Transport, the Land Public Transport Agency, the Malaysian Marine Department, and the Department of Road Safety.
What did you get from this video? The presence of a formal division between the three powers is a fundamental feature of democratic administration. The separation of powers between the legislative, executive, and judicial branches offers an important system of checks and balances. This is to prevent government employees from abusing their positions of authority. The separation of powers means that three branches of government control and are accountable to one another. This structure also restricts the authority of any particular branch, ensuring that state power is shared. From this video it raised that there is no doubt that the principle of separation of powers is still yielding many positive developments in countries that practices it. For instance, it helps in strengthening laws made by the legislative and consolidating the power of the judiciary to declare as null and void any law made contrary to the Constitution. Perhaps one important thing is that if these powers were vested in one person or organ, there would be an end to everything. That's all for this topic. Thank you for your time.